Welcome to the deep dive. You're here because you want to get smart, fast, and really cut through the noise. Consider this your express lane to understanding what truly matters.
Yeah, and today we're really focusing in on getting you ready for a driller assistant job interview. We've got this great career guide here, and we're going to pull out the key strategies and insights, give you that edge.
Exactly. It's not just about knowing the answers, it's understanding what interviewers are really trying to figure out.
Mm.
So we'll break down those tough questions, look at how to research the company properly, even, nail down what to wear.
Right.
The mission is pretty simple. Walk into that interview feeling prepared, feeling confident.
Let's do it. So those interview questions, the guide gives us a really solid list to start from. And looking at them closely tells us a lot about what skills they're actually testing.
Okay, first big one, problem solving. The guide throws out a typical question, something like, can you describe a time you had to solve an unexpected problem during drilling?
Yeah, and the thing is, they're not just looking for a good story, you
All
know.
right.
They want to see your thought process, how you think under pressure, how you analyze, make a call, and crucially communicate when things go a bit sideways.
And the guide's example answer hits that perfectly. It mentions unstable rock formations.
Okay. Yeah.
Quickly figuring out you need to adjust drilling parameters, telling the team and the supervisor clearly,
Mhm.
and the result, avoiding delays. It's that neat little package.
Exactly. And notice the structure, situation, action, result.
Hmm.
That STAR method. It's super useful for these kinds of behavioral questions.
It's a good point. Okay, what about something more fundamental like routine maintenance? The guide has, how do you perform routine maintenance on drilling equipment?
Seems straightforward, but like you said, fundamental.
Hmm.
They're checking your grasp on equipment reliability and, of course, safety. It's not just what you do.
It's the why.
Exactly. The why behind it. Do you get the importance of preventing issues? So the example answer covered the basics. Regular checks for wear, tear, damage. Troubleshooting proactively. Following the manufacturer's guidelines and safety rules shows you respect procedure.
All right, lubricating, tightening bolts.
Yeah. And importantly, keeping maintenance logs.
Mm.
Shows responsibility, accountability.
Okay, moving on. How about this one? What steps do you take to identify the root cause of a problem? This feels deeper than just fixing something quickly.
It is. They want to know if you can think systematically, not just slap a Band-Aid on it.
Makes sense.
The example answer lays out a logical flow. First, really analyze the situation, maybe check data.
Okay.
Then identify potential causes, use troubleshooting techniques. Then you implement a solution, and this is key test. Make sure it actually worked.
Like the example they give, equipment acting up, so you check the logs first.
Exactly. A concrete example of that process.
Now, experience. They'll definitely ask, what previous experience do you have in the drilling industry? What are they digging for beyond just the resume points?
Well, they want to know if you're genuinely familiar with the environment. Can you actually do the job safely and effectively, maybe from day one?
Uh-huh.
The example answer is smart. It mentions hands-on stuff like working on a construction site, assisting,
Right.
but then immediately links it to safety and compliance. And it even cleverly loops back to that unstable rock formation example, showing how past experience helps you handle future issues.
Adaptability is huge too, right? So can you provide an example of a time when you had to learn a new skill quickly on the job?
Oh, absolutely. Things change, equipment gets updated. They need people who can roll with it.
So the example is about new drilling equipment.
Yeah. And it highlights the right steps.
Mm.
Getting help from the team,
Mm.
really focusing on understanding the settings, the functions, maybe troubleshooting together if things aren't working right away.
And the result.
Confident operation, project stays on track, shows you can learn effectively under pressure.
Teamwork. Always critical, especially on a rig. Can you describe a time when you had to work closely with a difficult team member? Tricky one.
Yeah, it is tricky, but it's not about complaining about something.
No, definitely not.
They're testing your people skills. Can
Yeah.
you manage conflict professionally? Can you keep things productive even when personalities clash?
So the example answer focuses on
Well,
what? Durung engagement.
exactly. Engaging one-on-one, actively listening to their side, but also clearly stating the team's perspective or the project needs, finding that common ground.
And encouraging collaboration, trying to move past the difficulty.
Right. And the positive outcome, better communication, less tension, project success that demonstrates real conflict resolution skill.
Okay, accuracy. What steps do you take to ensure the accuracy of drilling operations? Precision matters a lot here.
Hugely. mistakes can be costly and dangerous. They want to see your attention to detail, your commitment to following protocol.
So checking equipment calibration, that's key.
Definitely. Shows you're proactive. Also, following standard operating procedures, SOPs, religiously, and constantly monitoring those critical parameters, pressure, depth,
And being proactive, looking for things that seem off, anomalies.
Exactly. That shows real ownership and responsibility.
Safety, again, obviously central. What safety protocols do you follow when working on a drilling site? This has to be second nature.
Non-negotiable. They need absolute certainty that safety is your #1 priority. Always.
So the answer covers the essentials. PPE.
Yep. Consistent use of personal protective equipment. Thoroughly inspecting your gear and the equipment before you use it.
And reporting unsafe conditions immediately.
Crucial. And clear communication about any hazards. It's a whole package.
Which leads nicely into communication itself. How do you ensure effective communication with your team members? More than just talking, right?
Oh, way more.
Yeah.
Miscommunication can cause massive problems, even accidents.
So what does effective communication look like on a rig, according to the guide?
Establishing clear channels like using radios properly, encouraging everyone to speak up, give feedback.
Open dialogue.
Exactly. And sometimes using visual aids helps too. Diagrams, checklists, just to make absolutely sure everyone's on the same page.
Okay, let's talk specifics about your background. What types of drilling operations have you been involved in?
Right. They want to match your experience to their kind of work.
So the example suggests being specific, like onshore, offshore, oil and gas.
Yet list the types you've done and maybe briefly mention the techniques or equipment involved, like rotary drilling or mud systems.
But always linking it back to safety.
Always.
Yeah.
Mentioning equipment checks, following protocols within those specific contexts. It reinforces that safety mindset.
How about handling challenges? Can you describe a challenging project you worked on and how you contributed to its success? This is a chance to shine.
Totally. This is where you show your problem-solving chops under real pressure, your perseverance.
So, the example. A tough rock formation causing delays.
Yeah.
What was the contribution?
Analyzing the problem, suggesting a specific fix, maybe adjusting the drill bit type or technique.
And the positive outcome. Quantifiable, if possible.
Ideally, yeah. Project finished ahead of schedule, saved costs. Even mentioning a boost in team morale adds a nice touch. Shows impact.
Sticking with safety, but from a proactive angle. Can you describe a time when you identified a potential safety hazard and how you addressed it?
This tests your awareness, your initiative. Are you just following rules, or are you actively looking out for risks?
Like spotting a frayed cable in the example.
Exactly. And the key is the action taken. Immediately cordoning off the area, reporting it straight away to the supervisor.
Following through.
Yes, and ensuring it gets fixed and checking afterwards. Shows responsibility from start to finish.
Team environment is so important for morale and productivity. What strategies do you use to maintain a positive team environment? How do you contribute?
Good question. It's about fostering that positive dynamic. So things like promoting open, honest communication, showing mutual respect, acknowledging people's contributions.
Making people feel valued.
Exactly. Encouraging collaboration, maybe assigning tasks based on strengths and celebrating successes, even small wins. It all builds team spirit.
Hazardous materials handling, a very serious topic. How do you handle hazardous materials on the job?
Critical. This is all about showing you understand and strictly follow safety regulations. No shortcuts.
So the answer needs to cover.
Following the MSDS material safety data sheets to the letter, doing risk assessments before you handle anything, using the right PPE every single time.
Labeling, storage.
Yep, proper labeling and storage. Staying vigilant for risks like leaks or spills, acting fast to mitigate any problems, and keeping communication crystal clear with the team throughout.
Okay, let's get back to basics. Can you explain the basic operation of a drilling rig? Tests fundamental knowledge.
It does. They need to know you grasp the core mechanics and the safety that goes with it.
So, mentioning the main parts, mast, derrick, fluid system.
Right. Describing the basic idea, rotating the drill bit, creates the borehole. But again, always emphasizing safety procedures, PPE, equipment checks.
And teamwork. Always teamwork.
Always essential for safe and successful operation.
Things change. Regulations change. How do you stay updated on safety regulations and best practices? Shows you're committed to learning.
Yeah, it shows you're proactive, not passive about safety.
So what are good ways to stay updated?
The example mentions things like subscribing to industry newsletters, attending workshops or training, actively participating in team safety meetings.
Sharing what you learned.
Exactly. Sharing insights with the team shows you're engaged and contributing to everyone's safety knowledge.
And specifically on personal safety gear. What personal protective equipment, PPE, do you use regularly? Should be an easy one, but important.
Absolutely fundamental. They just need to hear the essential gear and why it's important.
So list the specifics. Hard hat, safety glasses, gloves, steel-toed boots.
Yes. And maybe briefly say why head protection, eye protection, hand protection, foot protection, and stress that you use it consistently, correctly, every time.
Okay, another team question. Can you provide an example of a successful team project you were a part of? Focus on collaboration.
Right. How did you contribute to the team's win?
So describe the project maybe setting up a well drilling operation.
Yeah, something relevant. Then highlight your specific actions. Maybe you were responsible for equipment maintenance or coordinating tasks or ensuring clear communication.
And the positive result. Again, maybe ahead of schedule.
Sure. And then reflect on why it was successful. What were the lessons learned? Usually points back to good communication and teamwork.
Setting up the site itself. Can you describe the process of setting up a drill site? Practical knowledge check.
Yep. Test your understanding of the groundwork before drilling starts. Safety and practicality.
So mentioning the initial site assessment surveys, identifying hazards.
Crucial first step. Then assembling the equipment safely, methodically, and the ongoing part, keeping the area clean, safe, dealing with spills properly, regular checks.
Connecting the dots for them. How have your past roles prepared you for this position? Making your experience relevant.
Exactly. You need to explicitly link your background to this job's requirements.
So pointing to specific things like handling similar equipment.
Yeah, or experience troubleshooting malfunctions. Examples of effective collaboration in previous teams show those transferable skills.
Getting into the tools. What types of drilling equipment are you familiar with?
Straightforward knowledge check. What have you actually worked with?
So list specific equipment, rotary drills, maybe cable tool rigs if applicable.
Yeah.
Mention any maintenance or troubleshooting experience you have with them.
Right. And, you guessed it, reiterate your understanding of the safety protocols for that specific equipment. Safety checks, procedures.
Things break down. How do you approach troubleshooting equipment issues on the job? Testing that problem-solving process again.
Exactly. How do you react when something unexpected happens with the machinery?
So a systematic approach is key.
Definitely. Accurately identifying the problem. First, maybe using manuals or diagnostics. Then methodical steps to find the cause. Not just guessing.
And communicating with the team throughout.
Essential. Keeping everyone informed during the troubleshooting process.
What about thinking outside the box? Can you provide an example of a creative solution you implemented to resolve a work-related issue? Looking for ingenuity.
Yeah, sometimes the standard fix doesn't work, or there's a better way.
Like the example about excessive drill bit wear.
Right. Instead of just replacing it more often, the creative solution was maybe blending different drilling techniques or adjusting parameters in a novel way.
And the outcome, reduced wear, better productivity, shows initiative and smart thinking.
Exactly.
Handling disagreements again, but maybe more generally. How do you handle conflicts within your team? Focusing on resolution.
Yeah. How do you help maintain harmony and focus when people disagree?
So encouraging open discussion, letting everyone have their say respectfully.
Key first step. Then actively proposing solutions, trying to find a way forward that works for everyone.
Working together towards that common goal, moving past the conflict.
That's the aim. Collaborative problem solving.
Last question, type here. Prioritization. How do you prioritize tasks when faced with multiple issues at once? Big one in a busy environment.
Huge. Things rarely happen one at a time. They need to know you can juggle effectively.
So the process involves assessing severity first.
Right. How serious is each issue?
Yeah.
What's the potential impact? Then prioritize based on urgency and importance.
And communication is key here too, isn't it? Letting the team know the priorities.
Absolutely. So
Okay.
everyone's aligned. And staying flexible, priorities might need to shift as things develop.
Wow, okay. That's a really deep dive into the kinds of questions they might ask. But the guide makes a good point. The interview isn't just about the Q&A.
Not at all. Showing you've done your homework on the company. That's really crucial. The guide has some great tips on where to start.
Right. First up, obviously, the company website. Look at their history, mission, values, culture, and especially their specific work in the drilling sector.
Yeah, and pay attention to the language they use. Do they talk a lot about safety, innovation? Try to echo that back in your interview answers. Shows you're paying attention, you get them.
The guide also suggests checking out their social media, their online footprint. LinkedIn can tell you about company size, employee roles.
Uh-huh. And things like Twitter or Facebook can give you a feel for the company culture, their values, how they interact. Glassdoor reviews, too, though,
Yeah.
take them with a grain of salt sometimes.
Good point. And following them on social media keeps you updated on their latest news, recent projects.
Definitely. And looking at employee profiles on LinkedIn, that can sometimes show you what kind of experience they seem to value.
Beyond just the company, the guide also pushes for broader industry research, specifically the UK drilling industry. Knowing the trends, the challenges, the opportunities, that shows real initiative.
You can find that stuff on industry websites, trade journals, news sites covering the UK energy sector.
And here's a smart tip from the guide. Connect what you find back to the driller assistant role. Like if you read about a new UK safety regulation,
Yeah.
mention you're aware of it, shows you're engaged and committed to staying current.
Nice. Okay, finally, let's talk clothes. What to wear. Seems basic, but first impressions matter, right?
They really do. The guide gives some very practical advice. Clean, well-fitting jeans or maybe work trousers, sturdy, comfortable work boots or shoes.
Sounds right. And a neat casual shirt. Polo shirt, maybe.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe light jacket or sweater if it's cool or seems appropriate when you get there.
And keep accessories minimal, right? Less is more.
Definitely. Minimal jewelry. If you have facial hair, make sure it's tidy. Clean, short fingernails, subtle detail, but shows care and safety awareness.
Good point. And probably best to avoid really bright, flashy colors or patterns.
Yeah.
Let you be the focus, not your shirt.
Exactly. Okay, so we've really dug into this career advice guide for that driller assistant interview, covered a whole range of potential questions, tried to get behind why they're asking them.
Yeah, and we've hit on how important that company and industry research is. It really makes a difference. Plus, the practical stuff, like what to wear to make that solid first impression.
So hopefully this deep dive gives everyone listening a really strong foundation for preparing, a much clearer picture of what to expect and how to approach it.
Definitely. And maybe, as a final thought, think about which of these areas you personally want to dig into a bit more. Is it reflecting on specific past experiences to match those interview questions?
Or maybe spending a bit more time researching the latest trends in the UK drilling industry.
Exactly. That extra bit of focus prep, that reflection, that could be the thing that really makes you stand out from the crowd.